So today we're going to be talking about how children's literature can be used to teach the concepts of math and science. And the first thing I want to talk about is the different uses that literature serves. Literature provides an opportunity for teachers to get kids really engrossed and engaged in a learning process that they may not be familiar with or they may not find interesting. And I think a lot of the times the topics and the concepts within math and science are very difficult to understand and may not necessarily be appealing to all students. So I think literature opens children's eyes to a fun way of learning a concept they may not be too excited about. The first practical use of literature I want to talk about is just literature that is our general narrative stories, our fiction literature, and then I'll go into another alternative type of literature, which I think is really appealing for teachers and students. So the first book I talked about is called The Great Trash Bash. It is by Lorraine Leedy. And this book is just it's a short little narrative. It talks about being environmentally conscious, and like the title says, the city has all these problems with trash, and they're trying to figure out why their city has this problem and what the problem necessarily is. And the mayor is really involved, and the townspeople are really involved, and they find out we have too much trash. And in order to do this, in order to solve the problem, what they do is they try to look for solutions. So it's a kind of a problem and solution concept, which is really nice. So they do things like using reusable bottles, buying in bulk instead. They even build a recycling center, fix the old instead of buying new, stop littering, concepts like that. What I really like is this book gives a lot of solutions through the communication between characters, but it also, in the back of the book, combines a list of ideas for cutting down on trash to share with readers, which I think is really awesome because it reaches out just beyond the storyline to the readers themselves. And so that list is comprised here. Just a few things off of this list to talk about. Use dishes instead of disposable cups and plates. Keep junk mail for scrap paper. Buy products made from recycled materials, and the list goes on and on. There's, I think, 13 items on this list of things that students can do. And I think this book is a practical use of teaching kids to be environmentally friendly. I know, in schools we talk about reduce, reuse, and recycle, and this is a practical application of that. It's a good introduction, but could also be a good extension activity to talk about maybe some other alternatives, other solutions that you've taught as well in class. The second book is a shorter book. It's called Bats Around the Clock. And this one talks about the basic concept of time. It teaches kids about the different hours of the clock, talks about midnight, talks about how days are 24 hours. And what it does is it takes a concept such as time and gives it a little bit of fun by having at each hour the bats dance, and they do a different dance each hour, which is kind of cool. It's engaging, it's fun, it teaches the basic concept of time, and that's basically, I think, for a younger age level, a very important concept to learn. And I think it does a fantastic job of teaching, just a simple concept like that. The other alternative literature, which I found really interesting and really fun, was the use of song and poetry to teach concepts like math and science. And I think what this does is it takes a short little passage and teaches a huge concept, gives a child background knowledge on something. And I think they provide a short little snippet, short little poem provides a great introduction to a topic they may know nothing about. And so the first one I found was Marvelous Math. And this one is a bunch of poems selected by Lee Bennett Hopkins. And this book goes through a bunch of different concepts in math, There's anything from fractions to multiplication to division to measurement, and it also combines some math and science together as well, which I think is very cool. This one talks about skies and weather, but also about adding and subtracting and multiplying and dividing to build a house, which I think is really cool that you can combine both of them in one poem. It also talks about tangram pieces and counting. Again, takes every little thing that you could ever possibly think of and combines it into one little book. Again, a great introduction to any math topic you're doing, which I find really interesting and appropriate for all grade levels. The last book was Science Verse, and this is by John Senska, and this book is very widely talked about, very widely used. It is a compilation of a variety of science topics. It really does hit, I think, a little bit of everything. It's got, the human body stuff. It has, scientific cycle, food chain, dinosaurs, anything from astronomy to the water cycle to evolution, all those types of things. And what it does is it has a short little poem. Some are a little bit longer, some are a little bit shorter. And again, reach out, teach a concept. What's great about this book is it provides a lot of vocabulary in such a quick, short snippet. Again, a great introduction, a great summary, and just gets the reader really, really thinking about what there is to learn or what they have learned. And it does it in a fun way. This book also has a additional CD, DVD. And what that does is it has the stories read as well. So it provides, it's a great, another piece, another material to use, especially to reach all your students, even the ones that do struggle with reading the prose itself. Might be a little bit easier to listen to it on tape. So some really fun books. And I think what is really cool is that a little bit of the basic fiction stuff that we're used to, but also an alternative approach to teaching math and science through literature is through this use of song and poetry. I think it's engaging, I think it's fun, and it also extends beyond just your basic everyday stories that kids are used to. A short snippet and a lot of information in one combined. Not saying that a normal fictional story would be great too, but the point is that the literature should add to the lesson itself, shouldn't take away from the lesson. And I think literature in math and science can add to any lesson, regardless of the purpose the book serves. If it's an introduction, if it's a summary, if it's a conclusion, if it's teaching vocabulary, if it's teaching a concept. And so I think the main point is for an educator to identify why they're using the book they're using and what they want to get out of it. And I think through knowing that, they can teach any concept of math and science through the use of literature and be able to execute it flawlessly.